In this lecture, we're going to continue with the AI-assisted dating coach iOS app, and we're going to be building the threads, the conversation, but this time, instead of creating the user interface, we're going to be creating the classes for the message and the thread. So if you go back to Xcode, and by the way, if you have not downloaded the source code or you want to start again, make sure to go to appsfresh.com to get the source code there. And what we need to do right now is create the structure or the classes for the message and the thread that we're going to be using in the main right here in the table view. So each cell will be a thread, and inside of the thread you will have a series of messages, and a message could be text or an image. How do I know that? Well, because in the view controller here we can select a photo, so it would be great if we have a message, then a photo, and so on, right? So that we can keep the history of the conversation and we can have multiple conversations here. All right, let's do this. Make sure to open your groups in file, and inside of the AI Manager project, we're going to right click and we're going to add a new file. So just click on new file and we're going to create it. That's a Swift file. Next. And I'm going to create, I'm going to name this one thread, uppercase T. All right, and make sure to add it to the targets AI Manager. And the reason why I was hesitated is that because instead of just the thread, we're going to have also the message structure, but that's not a problem because the message will be a child structure of the thread. So I'm going to import UIKit. We might need it, we might not need it at this point, but at least I have it. And we're going to have the structure, so struct for a message, and the message will be made of some text. And obviously a text will be a string, and it will also be made of an image path, because we can have text or an image or both. And the image path can be empty. Why? Because, you know, there might not be an image, it might just be text. And by the way, the text by default could be, let's say, you know, empty like this, right? So, but we're going to instantiate that later. All right, so we have the structure for the message. Next is the structure for the thread, right? So let's create that thread, and that's not going to be a struct, that's going to be a class because it needs to be instantiated with different parameters. So let's create a thread, and that will be codable. The reason why we're codable is because we're going to save those and store them inside of the local iPhone, so inside of the device, and we're going to retrieve them. So in order to be able to do this, we're going to need to encode it and decode it so that we can save it and store it and retrieve it later. All right, so what's a thread made of? Well, first things first, we have an ID so that we know, we have a reference or an identifier. I'm going to use an int. We don't have to, you know, we could use a string, but an int will do just fine for now, and we can change that later. Then we're going to use a ribbon color. Why? Well, because we've been using colors, right? So there's going to be different colors here for different threads, and we're going to make sure we save that as well, because we don't want to reload the app and next time, you know, we have another color. Now we want the same color for the thread. So ribbon color, and that will be a UI color. Next, we want the person name, so the person with which you're having a conversation, for example, or however you want to name it. That will be a string. And then the sequence of messages, so var messages, and that will be a sequence of message. So basically an array of message from the this structure here. All right, next thing you know, we want to be able to initialize this. And as you can see, it says it has no initializer, so we got to add this. Let's put it right below init, and it's look, it's giving us the structure already for us, so we don't even have to do much work. So just double click here and you get the default save.array, ribbon color, person names, and messages. And that's enough to get this started. It's okay, it's complaining that it's not conform to decodable because we do not say what we need to save and how we want to save it. So we're going to have to do this, and let's do this in the next part.